Welcome, fellow magical scholars. First off, we just want to say, wow! The love and excitement you all have shown for Enchanted Origins has been nothing short of spellbinding. It's been an incredible journey diving into the magical creatures of the wizarding world, and we're beyond thrilled to bring you this full compilation of every single creature we've covered so far. Yep, we're talking about all 86 of them. Buckle up, because we're about to embark on a wild and sometimes bizarre ride through the magical bestiary of the Potterverse. Now, if we crammed all 86 creatures into a single video, it would be longer than Hogwarts: A History. And let's be real, even Hermione didn't expect everyone to read that cover to cover. So instead, we're breaking it down into 3 parts, based on the Ministry of Magic classification system. Why? Because not all magical creatures are created equal. Some are cute and harmless, while others, well, let's just say, you wouldn't want to meet them in a dark alley, or anywhere, really. The Ministry of Magic ranks creatures based on how dangerous they are, from boringly harmless to you will probably die. Today, we're starting with the safest ones, the creatures that pose absolutely no threat to wizards, unless you have an irrational fear of slugs or fluffy rodents. These are the X and XX classified magical beings. We'll explore their characteristics, magical abilities, mythological inspirations, and where they appear in the books, movies, and games. Because yes, some of them got their moment of fame outside the books. Let's start with the creatures that are about as exciting as a History of Magic lecture by Professor Binns, the X-classified beasts. These are the magical creatures that are completely harmless, non-threatening, and frankly, might be best suited for a fantastic beasts petting zoo. The Flobberworm, nature's way of reminding us that even in the magical world, some creatures exist just to, well, exist. These slimy, sluggish creatures spend their days munching on lettuce and generally minding their own business. They have no teeth, so no biting incidents to report, and they produce a thick mucus used in potion making, particularly as a thickening agent. If that wasn't underwhelming enough, flobberworms are also technically edible. Yes, you heard that right. Hogwarts sometimes served flobberworm fritters for lunch, much to the horror of the student body. We can only assume it tasted about as appealing as a plate of Horklump stew. They appear in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire book, where Hagrid has his students take care of them. Spoiler alert, they overfed them. If you thought the flobberworm was dull, allow me to introduce the Horklump, the magical equivalent of a fungus. Or so you'd think. Despite their mushroom-like appearance, Horklumps are actually animals. They burrow rapidly and reproduce at an alarming rate, making them the absolute bane of any wizarding gardener. Gnomes, on the other hand, they think Horklumps are a 5-star meal and gobble them up like a free buffet. But Horklumps do have one useful weakness. Streeler venom is known to kill them on contact, making it the go-to method for wizards dealing with an infestation. They're mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and pop up in a few wizarding games, but never made it into the books or films. Lucky us? Oh, and here's an interesting rumor. Honoria, the aunt of Albus Dumbledore, supposedly called off her engagement because she caught her fiancé fondling Horklumps. She insisted it was because he was cold-hearted, but we all know what she really thought. Some things you just can't unsee. Moving up the ladder, we have XX classified creatures. These guys are slightly more interesting. They're still non-threatening, but at least they have some magical qualities that make them stand out. Also known as the Irish Phoenix, this gloomy bird is basically a feathery weather forecaster. Auguries cry when it's about to rain, which used to make people think it was an omen of death. Talk about bad PR. In reality, they're just predicting the weather. Auguries appear in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the companion book, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, film, and got more attention in Harry Potter Wizards Unite game. They also make an appearance in Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, where players can adopt one as a magical pet. Plus, an augury skeleton can be spotted in Hogwarts Legacy. One fascinating detail, augury feathers repelled ink, making them useless as quill feathers. However, it's believed that the magical quill of acceptance, which records prospective Hogwarts students in the Book of Admittance, was actually made from an augury feather. That's quite the paradox. Next is a fan favorite. These little tree guardians are tiny, twig-like creatures that protect their home trees. Notably, a Bowtruckle only makes its home in trees whose wood is of wand quality. They are exceptional lockpickers, using their nimble fingers to unlock doors, which makes them highly sought after by wand makers and mischievous wizards alike. They are extremely protective of their trees and will scratch and attack anyone who threatens their habitat. Despite their size, they can be fiercely loyal, as seen with Pickett, Newt Scamander's Bowtruckle, who preferred sitting on his shoulder rather than staying with his kind. They eat insects, primarily woodlice and fairy eggs, making them essential for keeping magical trees pest-free. Bowtruckles appear in multiple Harry Potter games, the Fantastic Beasts films, and even get a mention in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part 1. When Hagrid tells Harry,
I brought you here 16 years ago when you were no bigger than a Bowtruckle.
Talk about an unexpected size comparison. Don't let their tiny, crab-like appearance fool you. Chizpurfles are parasitic little menaces with a particular love for energy sources. They are naturally drawn to magical energy, feasting on wand cores, potions, and cauldrons. But they don't stop there. In Muggle homes, they sometimes mistake electrical wiring, batteries, and appliances for magic, leading to unexpected infestations in TVs and toasters. Poor Muggles. If you ever find a potion suddenly losing its effect, there's a good chance a Chizpurflo infestation is to blame. Fortunately, getting rid of them is as simple as casting a scouring charm, though if they've overrun an area, you might need to call in a specialist from the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures. Chizpurfles are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and also appear in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban video game, but they never made it into the books or films. If a frog and a monkey had a magical baby, you'd get the Clabbert. This quirky tree dweller has mottled green skin, webbed hands and feet, and moves through branches with the grace of a gymnast on Felix Felicis. They are exceptional climbers, effortlessly swinging between trees, making them hard to catch. What really makes the Clabbert stand out, though, is the large pustule on its forehead that glows bright red when it senses danger, essentially making it the wizarding world's own living security alarm. Some wizarding families used Clabberts to warn them of approaching Muggles, especially in areas where keeping the international statute of secrecy was tricky. However, their danger detection wasn't always reliable, and their pustules sometimes lit up for completely harmless things, like a garden gnome minding its own business. Clabberts are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in a few Harry Potter games, though they've never made it to the books or films. Maybe they sense the danger of being cut from the final scripts. Meet the wizarding world's version of the dodo, the Diricawl. While Muggles are convinced that dodos are long extinct, the truth is, they just had a magical escape plan all along. These round, fluffy, flightless birds don't need wings to survive, because they have something far more impressive: instant teleportation. Instead of flying, they can vanish in a puff of feathers and reappear somewhere else, a defense mechanism that has kept them safe from predators and nosy Muggles for centuries. In fact, Muggles used to know about Diricawls, but believing they had hunted them to extinction, completely forgot about their ability to disappear. Wizards, being wizards, just never bothered to correct them. Diricawls are likely inspired by the real dodo, whose mysterious disappearance makes perfect sense when you consider a bird that can just poof out of sight. They are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in a few Harry Potter video games, including Hogwarts Legacy, as well as the Fantastic Beasts films. Guess they weren't as extinct as we thought. Ah, the fairy. A creature so dazzling that even Muggles write about them in their fairy tales. Ironically accurate for once. These tiny humanoid beings have delicate insect-like wings and are often admired for their beauty. But here's the catch. They're not very intelligent. While they can mimic human speech, they have no real understanding of language, making them more like winged parrots than magical conversationalists. Fairies have weak magic, mostly used for self-preservation, and they are vain beyond belief, spending most of their time preening and admiring themselves rather than doing anything remotely useful. Before reaching their beautiful winged state, fairies go through a larvae stage, developing inside cocoon-like structures. Not quite the glamorous transformation they'd like us to think. Fairies do have some practical uses. Their wings are used as an ingredient in certain potions and even as a wand core, though not as commonly as phoenix feathers or dragon heartstrings. Wizards also believed that, of all the magical creatures in the world, the fairy and the unicorn got the best Muggle press, probably because Muggles don't have to deal with their insufferable vanity. Fairies are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and appear in several Harry Potter video games. They have also been mentioned in the books Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So, while they may be obsessed with their own reflection, at least they managed to secure a spot in the Harry Potter canon. Ghouls may sound terrifying, but in reality, they are more of a magical nuisance than an actual threat. These lumpy, slimy creatures have pale green skin, an unkempt appearance, and a habit of moaning and groaning loudly. But don't worry, that's about all they do. They are completely harmless, making them more of a pest than a predator. In fact, many wizarding families, including the Weasleys, have a ghoul living in their attic where it makes eerie noises but doesn't cause any real trouble. That is, until it was unexpectedly useful. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the Weasleys dressed their ghoul in pajamas and faked a spattergroid infection to convince the Ministry that Ron was too sick to attend Hogwarts. Talk about thinking outside the box. Ghouls aren't particularly intelligent and mostly feed on leftovers and scraps, making them the magical equivalent of a particularly loud, slimy raccoon. At some point in magical history, ghouls mated with demiguises to produce an odd creature known as the Hide-Behind, which lurks unseen and is particularly hard to spot, probably making it the more competent side of the family. Ghouls are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in the books Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets book, briefly mentioned in the film Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and a few Harry Potter video games. While they may not be the most glamorous of magical creatures, at least they've got longevity. If you've ever had a garden overrun with tiny potato-headed creatures with large feet and bumpy skin, congratulations, you have a gnome problem. Gnomes are common garden pests in the wizarding world, burrowing into the soil and creating a mess wherever they go. They're not particularly bright, which is why they often return to the same gardens even after being kicked out. The best way to remove gnomes is through the traditional method: grabbing them by the ankles, swinging them in circles to disorient them, and flinging them over a hedge. It sounds cruel, but don't worry, they bounce. Alternatively, one could use a jarvie to de-gnome a garden, but this method was considered much too violent and was rarely used, as jarvies actively preyed on gnomes. Gnomes aren't exactly defenseless. They have sharp little teeth and will bite if provoked, but they're more of an annoyance than a real danger. Luna Lovegood was once bitten by a gnome, which her father, Xenophilius, saw as a blessing, believing gnome saliva could boost creativity and even make one sing opera. Hagrid, on the other hand, thought they were just nasty pests and even included them in Care of Magical Creatures lessons as creatures to be defeated. Gnomes are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in the books Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. They are also featured in several Harry Potter video games. Whether they are pests or magical geniuses, that depends on who you ask. If you've ever been scared to go swimming in a murky lake, well, you had every reason to be. Grindylows are water-dwelling creatures with pale green skin, long, spindly fingers and sharp teeth, making them look like something out of an underwater horror story. They are hostile and aggressive, especially toward humans, both Muggle and wizard kind, and will attack anything that enters their territory. Despite their terrifying demeanor, Grindylows have long, brittle fingers that, while strong, can be broken to escape their grip. A revulsion jinx is particularly effective, as it blasts jets of boiling water that force them to retreat. Not all Grindylows are entirely savage, though. Some, like the one studied by Remus Lupin, can be tamed by merpeople and even trained to be less aggressive. Still, if you find yourself in deep water, it's best to avoid them altogether. Grindylows are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, book and film, and appear in the books Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. They are also featured in multiple Harry Potter video games and appear in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire film. If you ever thought about taking a swim in the Black Lake, maybe think twice. The imp is what happens when you take a goblin, remove the intelligence, and add a love for slapstick humor. These small, mischievous creatures stand around 6 to 8 inches tall, have pointed faces, and are typically brown or black in color. While they resemble pixies, imps cannot fly, making them slightly less chaotic, but just as annoying. Known for their love of pranks, imps enjoy tripping people, pulling hair, and causing general mayhem. They primarily feed on insects and thrive in damp environments like marshes and riverbanks. While non-threatening, they can be easily dealt with, either by throwing back wizard crackers they toss at you, or by using a knockback jinx to stun them before dropping them into the nearest cage, hole, or bottomless pit. Imps once caused chaos in Zonko's Joke Shop, an event later dubbed the Zonko's Dung Bomb Disaster, proving that even joke shops aren't safe from their antics. Imps are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in a few Harry Potter video games. If you ever encounter one, just remember, they may be annoying, but at least they can't fly. At first glance, the Jobberknoll might seem like an ordinary speckled blue bird, but it has one of the strangest magical traits of any creature. It remains completely silent for its entire life, not a single chirp or squawk, until the moment it dies. And then, it lets out a high-pitched scream, repeating every sound it has ever heard, but in reverse. Imagine hearing a lifetime's worth of noises played backward at super speed, an audio horror show in bird form. Because of its perfect memory retention, Jobberknoll feathers are highly valued in potion making, particularly for memory-enhancing elixirs and truth serums. Some wizards even believe that Jobberknolls could recall secrets whispered around them, though considering they only speak at death, it's not exactly the most convenient spy system. Jobberknolls are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in Harry Potter, Hogwarts Mystery, and Hogwarts Legacy. While their eerie death cry is unsettling, at least you won't hear a peep from them while they're alive. A mooncalf is the kind of creature that looks like it wandered straight out of a bedtime story. These shy, nocturnal beings have smooth, pale bodies, enormous eyes, and long, spindly legs, making them both adorable and slightly awkward. They emerge only under the full moon, where they perform synchronized, intricate dances that leave behind mysterious crop circle patterns, a phenomenon that has confused Muggles for centuries. While these dances seem purely whimsical, they do serve a purpose, attracting potential mates. Mooncalf dung is highly valuable. When collected before sunrise, it serves as a powerful magical fertilizer, enhancing plant growth significantly. However, mooncalves themselves have a role in the food chain. Hodags are known to feed largely on mooncalves, making them a crucial part of magical ecosystems. Mooncalves are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in the Fantastic Beasts films, as well as a few Harry Potter games, including Hogwarts Legacy. While they may be elusive, those lucky enough to see one dancing under the moonlight won't forget it anytime soon. If horses had personal bodyguards, they'd be porlocks. These small, shaggy-haired humanoid creatures look like miniature stable guardians with long, tangled manes, stubby legs, and a snub nose. Their sole purpose? Watching over and protecting horses from potential threats. Porlocks are extremely shy and deeply mistrustful of humans, which means spotting one is quite rare. They'll immediately hide at the first sign of people. While they may look magical, they don't possess any real supernatural abilities, aside from their keen sense for detecting danger around horses. Porlocks are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, appear in Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, and are even referenced in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix as one of the creatures students should study for their OWL exams. It seems even the wizarding world recognizes the dedication of these tiny equine protectors. If the wizarding world needed an official comfort pet, the Puffskein would win by a landslide. These round, fluffy creatures come in various soft colors and are quiet, affectionate, and low maintenance, making them an extremely popular pet for wizarding families. They are known to emit a low, humming sound when content, which only adds to their cuddly charm. Puffskeins have a long, thin, pink tongue that they particularly enjoy using to eat wizards' bogies while they sleep. Adorable or horrifying? You decide. Their miniaturized version, the Pygmy Puff, became a bestseller at Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, with Ginny Weasley proudly owning one named Arnold. Puffskeins are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and appear in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and both the book and film versions of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. They also feature in multiple Harry Potter video games, including Hogwarts Legacy. If you're looking for a magical pet that won't bite or set things on fire, this might just be the one. If the Puffskein wasn't already cute enough, here comes its miniature version, the Pygmy Puff. These tiny, fluffy creatures are round balls of fur, typically bright pink or purple, and emit tiny squeaky noises when happy. They became a bestseller at Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, with Hogwarts students rushing to adopt them as adorable pocket-sized pets. As discussed earlier, Ginny Weasley famously owned a pygmy puff named Arnold, which she often carried around on her shoulder. Like their larger counterparts, pygmy puffs require little to no care, making them the perfect low-maintenance magical pet for wizards who want a pet without the responsibility. While some magical creatures can naturally change their size, pygmy puffs might technically violate the ban on experimental breeding. However, since they are simply miniature Puffskeins, it's possible that Fred and George Weasley obtained a special breeding license, or simply used a color change charm and a shrinking spell to create them. Either way, no one's complaining. Pygmy puffs are mentioned in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, book and film, and also appear in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, film. If you're looking for the ultimate magical fluff ball, this one's hard to beat. The remora is proof that not all magical creatures need fangs or fire to be powerful. This silver fish, native to the Indian Ocean, is known for its protective magical properties. A guardian of sailors, the remora is believed to anchor ships, keeping them from being lost at sea, and is highly revered by wizards and seafarers alike. Because of its great magical significance, the International Confederation of Wizards ensures its protection and preservation, as its existence is crucial to maritime safety. Unlike many other magical beings, remoras do not attack or harm, but their protective magic is strong enough to influence the sea itself. Remoras are mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, though they do not appear in the books, films, or games. If you ever find yourself lost at sea, let's hope one of these mystical fish is nearby. And there you have it, the safest creatures in the wizarding world. They might not be dangerous, but they each bring something fascinating to the table. Up next in our Enchanted Origins compilation, we're diving into the XXX category, creatures that require a competent wizard to handle them. That means things are about to get way more exciting. Stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't, and let us know, Which of these creatures would you want as a pet? Also, if there's anything interesting we missed about these creatures, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in part 2.